G'day cobbers, welcome back to the actually we're heading down the bush, but his car won't start. So what do you do if your car doesn't start? You turn the ignition, it's clicking, but nothing's happening, the vehicle's not starting. So we're going to do a bit of fault diagnosis today and get his car running. Let's get into it. Now, considering this is a Matt's daily driver, there could be a problem with battery draw. So you could have left the fridge plugged in and maybe that's drawn down the main battery, or perhaps the light was left on, hasn't been run for a week or so. So first thing I suspect is the battery's buggered. So the quickest way to check that is to, Matt, can you turn on the headlights please? And can you turn the ignition on? And try and start it. Okay, now as you can see the light remained on constant. If the light dims down to nothing when you try and start it, then obviously you've got a battery issue. And it looks like we don't have a battery issue here, so let's start looking at something else it could be. Alright, so down on the left hand side of the motor, this one being a straight 6 turbocharged 1HDT motor in the Toyota, you can see the starter motor here. Right next to the starter motor we've got the solenoid. You can see just on top of the starter motor there. Now sometimes they get a bit stuck up with mud and grime and whatnot from going through bog holes, so occasionally just giving it a bit of a rap with the end of a hammer or maybe the end of a broomstick will free it up enough to get it moving again. So we'll give that a couple more whacks and we'll see if that'll start it up. Okay, next thing we need to check is we'll drag out the multimeter, and you can do this with a test light if you like. And we'll go from the negative terminal. Now we'll set the multimeter to 20 volts DC, direct current, and we'll check the voltage across the battery. And we're seeing about 12.63 volts there. So it tells me the batteries are reasonably healthy. And what we'll do now is we'll jam the probes in there. And I'll get Matt to go and turn the ignition on. And we'll see if we're going down substantially in voltage. Okay, you hit the ignition please, Matt? Okay, so it is going down a little bit. Now, if it were a flat battery, it would be down to 6 or 7 volts, which is not, it's only dipping to 11 volts. So we're getting a bit of current draw there, but it's certainly not enough that the battery is causing us an issue. So we've got an issue further down the line somewhere. It could be the starter motor, it could be the connections, it could be a multitude of things. First thing we'll check, of course, is the connections of the batteries. We'll check that they're nice and tight and secure, and then we'll check the connection of the earths, particularly to the body and the engine, and then we'll check the connections down on the starter motor itself. Okay, so your battery terminals, because they suffer from vibration and whatnot, they seem to give you a bit of grief, especially the negative terminal. So what we'll do is we'll take them off and we'll clean them up. Now this is a battery terminal cleaner. If you don't have one of these, that's fine, just use a bit of sandpaper or whatever you have. That in there is to clean the terminal itself. So you put it on and you turn it, which I'll show you in a second. And this end here, this gets inside the terminal itself on the inside diameter and cleans that up. Now you have to be very careful of course when you're doing this, because lots of live contacts and you don't want to short out, so be very careful. You just jam him in. That's a nice clean surface there now. But honestly, they didn't look horrible at all. And you just put this one on, give it a bit of a turn. And what we do have here, in addition, is some battery cleaner spray. So I'll give that a bit of a shoot as well. Now, it's yellow coloured and turns pink in contact with acid. So if you have a old school lead acid battery, and this one's actually got service ports on top there, it'll turn pink if it's leaking out. So we'll give that a bit of a spray. And in addition to that, we have some finishing stuff as well. So once we're on and tightened up, we'll clean off the excess pink, yellow at this stage, hopefully not turning pink. If I go for the right end, that's going to help Simon. I find if anything's going to give you trouble, it's usually the negative for some reason, especially where it connects onto the body and the engine. Okay, so we want it reasonably tight, but we don't want to put an impact on there. Okay, so we'll just clean up this excess here. And I'll put the corrosion protectant on both of them at the same time later on. So what we need to do now is we need to clean up the positive. This is the one you have to be particularly careful of, especially if you've got any metal around. You don't want to be shorting out to it. So I usually like to hold it by the end, because the end is where it's going to contact any metal part. So if your end was a bit longer and say contacted here, you get a dead short. Unnecessarily exciting. So I'll pull the positive terminal off. Now of course you're going to lose all your radio stations and all that sort of thing. So I'll get rid of that felt pad there for a second as well. And again, these don't look terribly bad at all. They look quite good. So I don't think this is the issue, but a little bit of maintenance never goes astray. And put that felt pad back on and run the cleaner. The terminal itself is a little bit dirty. Now if you don't have all these fancy sprays, and Matt does, I don't at home, I just use a bit of Vaseline on there. It seems to work okay. No doubt the sprays and stuff work better, but use what you have. And as you work your way through this process, we're going to have to put a little bit of cleaner on there. That was a good shot. That's why I didn't play ball sports in primary school and high school. Now we'll clean up the excess cleaner there. We'll get rid of our battery terminal cleaner, we'll put him to the side. Get everything out of the road. And now I'm completely happy with those battery terminals. They won't be causing an issue. And I'll get a bit of this protectant spray. So this is a battery terminal protectant spray from Delca. And just a little bit over the top. Okay, so I'll get Matt now to hit the starter, and we'll check out whether the issue was the battery terminals. Though I don't think it was. I think it's further down the track somewhere. Okay, Matt, can you give it a kick? And unfortunately not. But what I can hear down there is the solenoid on the starter working, it sounds like. So there could be an issue further down the track. But what we'll do first is we'll trace back the negative and we'll see where that connects onto the body and onto the engine. We'll clean those up and we'll have a look at the positive and we'll trace that down to the starter motor and we'll pull that terminal off and we'll clean that up and see how we go. But I'm starting to suspect the solenoid on the starter motor. Alright, so I've taken the earth strap off the engine block which bolts onto here. What I've done is I've got a bit of sandpaper and sandpapered off both sides. And I've also tried to get a bit of sandpaper onto the bolt hole where it bolts to the engine here. So I've cleaned all that up. Now I'll just grab the bolt. There's not a lot of room down here. Certainly made for smaller hands than mine. And we'll see if we can put that bolt back in without a bunch of vulgarities and blasphemy. Oh, that's the first time I dropped the bolt. That won't be the last time. Unfortunately, there's not enough room in here to stick both my hands in there. So, one-handed it is. And with my left hand, and I'm a right-hander, so that's not helping either. I'll try my right hand. I can't even get it in there, I don't think. Oh, these days are sent to test us. Might try putting a spanner on there. Make sure we're on righty-tighty now. These are spanners. Not too bad for getting into tight confines. As long as I can keep a bit of pressure on the end, it might start it for me. Okay, seems to be started, so I'll save you watching the rest of this, and we'll try it once it's all tightened up. Okay, well that escalated quickly. Now, I think the starter motor shagged, so we pulled it out. One of the nuts was an absolute bear to get out. We'll show you how to test the starter motor now. So, we have two live jumper cables here connected to the battery on the vehicle, and we've connected the negative to the body of the starter motor. Now we'll connect the positive to the positive terminal here. Now this terminal here is the one that supplied power for the solenoid to activate and push the current through, or allow the current to flow through the starter motor. So that's like a remote switch. So all we'll do now is we'll carefully put the positive on, and then all we have to do is short out in between our positive, which is live, and our terminal there. Okay, I'll make sure you can see that. Now that's what's supposed to happen. So we've got the positive and negative here, so the positive here and the negative here. We've shorted out the terminal, and you can see the gear come out. So it comes out to engage the flex plate in this case, and that seems to be working fine. Which is a bugger, because that means the issue is somewhere else. Okay, so you can see where the red terminal is connected there. That's the positive lead which activates the solenoid on the starter motor. So that's where I think my culprit is now. So Matt, can I get you to hit the starter please? And off. Okay, so guys, we don't have any power there. That's our issue. So now we need to work out why we don't have any power there. Now, we went through all the fuses before, so I don't think it's that. So we're going to have a prod around and see what we can find. So this is the fusible link that I've pulled out the fuse box inside the car, and it's just marked power, so I'm not exactly 100% sure what that does. Now, our meter here, we've put it on continuity, and we'll just touch the electrodes together, and you hear the buzzing noise. So anything that's metal and conducts electricity, that hasn't got too much rust on it. There we go. So anything that has a continuous flow of electricity able to pass through it, it'll buzz. So now we'll be able to check whether it's working or not. This is the same way you check fuses if you can't see them properly, and that one tells me it's dead. So I'll grab out my spare from the spares box and we'll check that one. Rightio, that one's working. So what we'll do now is we'll put that back into the fuse box, and we'll see if we can get power down at the starter motor. So one good tip is you can buy normal size blade fuses and even the mini blade fuses at service stations, out back, all that sort of stuff. Fusible links, not so common. We managed to get a couple of these from Repco for the spares kit. So before you head out back, or even for a long weekend away, make sure you grab a few fusible links of appropriate size to your vehicle, if your vehicle has them, and I know the Toyotas do. So I'll keep a few in my spare kit. Okay, let's bung this fusible link in and see what happens. Okay, so we've just replaced that faulty fusible link as you saw, and the fuse box was just marked power. Okay, but we'll give it a go. Matt, can you hit the ignition please? Oh, there we go. Voltage. We found the culprit. Now, hindsight's 2020, as always, and I probably should have went through all the fusible links prior to ripping out the starter motor. But at least we know the starter motor works. Time to reassemble. Okay guys, there's the back of the fuse box lid. Now, as you can see, it says FL heater, bottom right hand side, the left hand one, and FL power. Now, since we've replaced the FL power fusible link, 30 amp fusible link, all sorts of strange things have started working, like the sunroof for instance, and the central locking. So not only have we got the power to the solenoid to activate the starter motor, we've also got the sunroof working and the central locking working as well. Unbelievable. Good old Toyota. Okay guys, well, we've reinstalled the starter motor and we've tested this voltage down there, so we should be good to go. So the only thing left to do is to try and start it up. Matt, can you turn it on? Beauty. Thanks buddy. Righto ladies and gents, now if you like this video, don't forget to give it the old thumbs up. If you didn't, by all means, give it a thumbs down twice. Thanks guys. Now if you learned anything, that's good. Even if it's just check the fusible links before you rip out the starter motor. Thanks guys, see you in the next one. G'day coppers, welcome back to the bush. Actually, we're heading up the, what the hell's that?
Oh, it's a mile off next door.
Nice. G'day coppers, welcome back to the, oh, this is fantastic. We should film here more often. G'day coppers, welcome back to the, oh jeez, now my glasses are fogging up.